This is the Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's up?
I feel like, first of all, have y'all been watching the House of the Dragon?
I have.
Are you
Very,
are you caught up on the episodes?
yes, I watch it every Sunday. It's very exciting.
I've seen like two episodes.
So good.
Yeah, no spoilers, but it's been good.
Uh, definitely worth checking out if you haven't. It is, I know a lot of people out there are saying, it's slow news or whatever in the hobby, but I would like to disagree. I think it is more wild right now behind the scenes and in the hobby in general than we've seen in quite some time, especially for the summer. I don't know what's going on. I have lost the ability to comprehend
Is this still about House
what.
of Dragons? It's just about dragons.
Oh yeah, no, that shit's definitely about dragons. Um, there's a lot of big dragons. I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
I saw like an
Hot
episode.
Dragon
There
Summer.
was a huge dragon fight, and I was like, okay, this is tight. I get it.
Hot dragon summer.
Just right,
Um,
dragging these nuts.
Ha!
Shout out to Disflect for reminding me of
bringing it full circle.
that. So, you know. Sorry, Rob.
Bringing it.
You were lamenting on how hard your life is. Continue, please.
Oh, I don't think that's true at all. Um, it's secretly wild out there. Also, it's Gen Con weekend, so that's pretty cool.
Oh
Like
yeah,
if anybody's going to that, it's about to kick off tomorrow. I think there's a block party tonight.
it's a big ass
Um,
fucking convention.
ginormous, ginormous.
Yep.
The biggest one out there. Basically takes over all of downtown Indy. The Lucas Oil Stadium, the convention center, everything.
Comic-Con was this weekend.
Yeah, wow. Who saw that Doctor Doom reveal coming?
A lot of crazy shit, yeah.
Wait, is that real?
Oh yeah.
What do
Wait,
you mean is that real?
Robert Downey Jr. is gonna play Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could go with that. Um,
The multiverse dog.
I I think the least complicated answer is that he's just gonna be like a guy in a suit or primarily do voiceover.
That's what
Oh,
I.
kind of like the Mandalorian.
Well,
Yeah.
Doom will be mostly CGI. That's how they do that
Right.
shit now.
Yeah, yeah.
So who's
So
the,
like, because like my first thought was like, oh, what if it's just like a variant, you know? Like, what if like in the MCU, Doctor Doom is a variant of Tony Stark who goes evil? Because they really like the TVA and like the multiverse
I
stuff
love
now,
the
right?
TVA shit.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's an answer that's a not zero chance. And then I was like, well, I recently saw this show on HBO called The Informant that Robert Downey Jr. is in, and he plays four very different characters with lots of like makeup and prosthetics, and he has a lot of vocal acting range that not you may not know about unless you saw that show. So I'm like, if he just like is always in a Doctor Doom costume and the only thing that we interact with is maybe like his eyes and his voice, it's not the same as showing his face, right? Because the cognitive dissonance is, but Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark.
Yeah,
And
you're probably right.
No, I
I
think it's great.
think that's how it'll be.
Well, plus too, like, um, he doesn't have to do as much work. He doesn't have to be on set. He can just do the
that's
voiceovers.
kind of what I'm thinking. And then like
Yeah.
he's a slam dunk as far as like, you know, somebody they can rely on, because like they were gonna put all their money on this like Kang Conqueror thing,
Yeah, no, that
and
didn't work out.
then the actor got in some hot water and they had to scrap that whole project and go into Doctor Doom and Secret Wars. And so like he's just a reliable dude and he brings a lot of butts to seats.
Yeah, did you guys know that when Sir Ian McKellen was playing Gandalf, he was pretending to be a wizard?
Yeah.
Um, who knew?
Right.
Wizards are real.
All right, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We have the always exciting GW annual report topic. We've got follow up on to the Tacoma coverage from last week. We've got a follow up on model critique from last week because we're off the heels. GW's dropping releases again. We got Blend Angels to review. But first and foremost, let's roll out to the Cave of Wonders and test nothing but the lamp.
Would you rather have the power set of Static Shock or the power set of Plastic Man?
Wait, what is Static Shock? What are you talking about?
You don't know who Static Shock is?
Mm-mm.
Is
He's
he
got
like
electric power? He controls electricity.
Isn't he like
all sorts
just?
of cool
Is he
shit.
just like DC's Electro?
Who?
Yeah, there's like a cartoon early 2000s.
So one guy has like energy projectile, static, or controls electricity.
Yeah, you can control and
Oh,
channel
look at this
electricity.
dude.
Does he need to be like fueled by electricity, or does he like just manifest electricity?
I think a little of both.
But Plastic Man's OP, dude. Rob,
He's basically like Mr. Fantastic.
Plastic Man can make his dick bigger.
You could have gone anywhere with that, and you chose that.
I mean, I knew he was gonna go that way with it.
Plastic Man fixes all of my problems.
Plastic Man fixes all of my problems.
Yeah. I mean, Static Man could probably do all sorts of fun shit, right? Fly, charges, electric cars, EV car. Oh my god, I might have to pick this guy just to fucking do that.
Yeah, I
Dude,
mean, like, I think it's a fair.
I have
it's
a whole
fair,
bit with
like,
my dad on this.
choice, right? Because like, not everybody wants to be Mr. Stretchy guy, right? And the idea of like being able to fly and control electricity is interesting as well.
So he's able to control electromagnetic forces. He
Oh,
channels.
that can get OP fast.
That's way better than just static. He's basically Magneto.
But electromagnetic, isn't electromagnetism like a force of nature? Like it's one of the forces. Like
Yeah,
so, like
every living thing has electromagnetic.
so. This
field.
guy has like absolute mastery over the entire fundamental core rule of physics, whereas Plastic Man makes his dick bigger.
I mean, one of those is good.
Yeah, I think we both know which one is good.
Also, one of his apparently one of his villain arch enemies is the Rubber Band Man.
What?
I'm not making this up.
DC Comics are wild, dude.
They were.
So the only reason I'm even considering an electromagnetic shock guy is just so I can buy a Tesla and charge it myself and piss my dad off
Hmm.
Oh man.
for a bit. That's
You
it.
could like boost his ham radios to
Oh, I can
Plug
fuck
your-
all this shit
plug
up,
your
dude. I could
radio
be
in.
like, oh my god, there's a lot of
I
trolling.
mean, you could turn. Yeah, I was saying like, yeah, you could fuck with him. You could also help him.
Mhm.
You could impress him. Be like, yo, you want to talk to somebody
The
and
I was like, this is all made possible by EV, dude.
like.
Fucking scramble his brains. Fucking, but Plastic Man, all joking aside, is OP, Rob. Like that dude is like changes his body molecularly. Like there's like a comic where he like basically like infiltrated the fucking super hero prison and just like killed everyone. Like just and it broke out. The whole Justice League couldn't hold him back. So like that dude slaps.
It's always the quiet ones. Well, actually, it wasn't really quiet.
Like a motherfucker could, like jump inside you and blow you up.
Nobody wants that.
But most importantly, let us not forget, you can see his dick from outer space. So I'm going with Plastic Man.
I feel like that's more of a short term sort of goal thing. So I think I'll go with the static guy.
What about being able to see my dick from outer space in short term?
I'll
I mean,
just
there's a novelty to it
I'll
for
just
sure.
leave that there.
I don't know, can Plastic Man grow like extra appendages? Like, I'm sure you maybe can form like extra sets of hands, but can he form like new eyeballs?
Look,
Like,
I've exhausted all of my information about this guy.
I don't
Can you
know.
form a new nervous system?
I know visually what Plastic Man looks like. I'm not up to date on the deep Plastic Man lore.
Yeah, I'm
I was just gonna say,
very,
like,
very
if you
behind
could,
on his lore.
yeah, it's like if I could form new sets of eyes, so I could have like one workstation here and like one workstation over there, and then have a set of eyes and hands, and then a set of eyes and hands. Because like extra arms is cool and all, but then like you still have to perceive what you're doing.
Could all of his hands be dicks?
I've seen a frame where he turns his finger into a key to open a door, so like I'm sure, yeah, he could.
Functioning dicks.
That I don't know.
There's only
Maybe.
one way to find
There's only
out.
one way to find out. I pick Plastic Man.
Yo,
Final answer.
Okay.
I'm going with the more multi-dimensional.
Yeah, you're gonna go. You're gonna be. You're literally gonna be like a god. Got it. With a
Eh.
small ass dick.
Well, it'll be like I'm a mod on Reddit. It'd be so cool.
What was it?
I'll
You
be
can't
I'll
make
be
new
power
body
tripping for
parts. Okay.
days.
Yeah. Do I mean, imagine there's a learning curve. We're gonna learn our powers. So I imagine you're
Yeah.
gonna fucking fuck up a lot of shit by accident, Rob.
He's gonna like knock out the power to the eastern seaboard.
Yep. I'm just gonna make my dick too big by accident.
It's a it's a tough problem to have.
You can't. It actually would aid you in your fight versus the golf course. This game.
Ooh, yeah. Just constantly turn off the power of the golf
Yeah.
course.
Yep.
Don't birds like function off of electromagnetism too in a way of like
Supposedly,
couldn't you
Yeah,
just like
they're
make it to where
robot. They're
like
birds.
robots, dude.
couldn't you make it to where like hundreds and hundreds of birds just descend upon this golf course and make it unusable because there's just flocks of birds everywhere?
I'm just pooping, just
Yeah.
pooping on all the things.
You have some crows. Protect slaps.
Birds are different though.
I mean, you could just be this Electro Man character, but just hide under the motif of Birdman.
True.
Keep your
Nope.
enemies guessing.
Keep them guessing like hell. Like, yeah.
You got to, man.
Good one, Wyatt. Appreciate that.
That was a good one.
Somebody in chat said that Plastic Man has no limit to his stretch and he could theoretically cover the surface of the earth and block out the sun.
But we were fighting the shade.
Wild.
So, Dick from Outer Space confirmed. Rob, you got some titillating news for us?
Sure do. We got all sorts of things to talk about. First, a little bit of self-promotion. The mystery boxes we sell over on spikybits.com/store. Our general mystery box, which is basically anything can come in there. There's double value in those right now. So like the $56 one and the $100 one, get back like double value on. So if you're just looking for some funsy project stuff, that might be a fun little surprise to pick up. I've got got a lot of rando stuff. Been buying out some businesses that haven't been doing so well lately, so just kind of passing it on to everybody, trying to do what we can out there. And also we've got the fat sack of bits is back for, I don't know, the 12th year or so, give or take. Still got a few of those left. I think some people just bought some during the show. That one's a fun one, and it's only $45. It's literally, I don't have one here, but it's it's almost a pound of like 3D prints and like bits, and there's characters and whole sprues and stuff in there. I've been slapping those together for about a week now, so we got a few of those to still send out.
I remember like
So-
years ago, in your old apartment, scooping bits in the bags.
Yep. Those were the
Those are the
days.
days, bro.
Stuff adds up. You don't realize it, and then you're like, man, yeah, I gotta do something with all this shit.
Yeah.
uh, let's put them all in little baggies and sell them. I almost feel like there was a movie about that. Anyways, SoCal Open tickets are on sale right now, so that's they converted over to the 8-man team. I'm sure I could talk a little bit more about that. Um,
Yeah, so I mean, we've been going to SoCal Open for however many years, Kenny.
Yeah,
Um,
since like year 2.
it's an OG, dude. But so this year they're switching it up from a singles tournament to a 8-person teams in the style of WTC. So it's still going to be a frontline gaming event. Still going to have frontline's awesome terrain. It's going to be in Del Mar, which is part of San Diego. Beautiful
Mm-hmm.
during October.
Oh yeah.
But you get the chance to do 8-man teams, which lets people be part of that type of competition. So like your individual games aren't nearly as um, you're not worried about losing your games as much, right? So like if you go to a singles event and you lose a couple of games, like you're kind of like out of the running, right? Whereas if like you and your buddies go and you enter into the team tournament, like you have very clear goals on like how to score the points differential. And so like even if you lose a game, your team can still win the round, right? So you can be that team player and thus your like individual performance doesn't matter as much. It's much more fun as far as like tournaments go, just because like the atmosphere is so much different than a singles
It's
event.
way more laid back, less pressure to perform,
Yeah,
more room for error. Like and you can always come back. So
mhm.
right.
it's definitely a fun format.
Um,
I'm shocked that it's doing 8. I feel like everyone's doing 8 now because like we've been doing 5 for
that's like the
years.
premier,
Yeah.
like people are getting the WTC is becoming more popular. It's getting more eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
The 8-man style is just like, it's kind of like playing 2000 points, right? It's like as much as we think that 2000 we could mitigate a lot of stuff by going down in points, like everybody wants to play with all their
It goes
toys at
up.
2000.
Yeah.
So it's like you could have the 5-man style, but the 8-man is the more prestigious.
8-man is more balanced though too because it forces 3 additional factions
Right.
onto the fields, whereas in the 5-man historically
Mhm.
it's pretty easy to put together like power combo, right? Like these are the 5 best factions for these reasons, and then you see
Exactly.
everyone
Like
has. So you
the
don't.
drafting for codexes becomes is
Mhm.
trickier.
Yeah.
And then with the way they do scoring
House Marines.
is different.
Did they basically take
So
five codexes into one
so
for
the
picking?
right now, I mean, it's going to change when this Inquisitor thing comes out. When we don't know what it's going to shake out with Death Watch, but like right
Mhm.
now, Space Marines is like everything except Grey Knights.
Yeah,
Like Grey Knights is its own thing. All other Space Marines
for the same
is
thing.
yeah.
Is
So
one.
yeah, so
So,
Blood Angels is the same as Ultramarines, even though they have like their own book, right?
so
Yeah.
that's wild because if you think about it, that basically takes out like 4 or 5 factions, so you're down to like 20 factions, and if
Mm-hmm.
you're 8 teams, that's like basically somewhere right around 40% of all the factions have to go into each team.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just balances things because like,
but
they're trying to avoid something like,
well, there's no
oh,
hard choices if it's in the 5-man team
exactly.
right now. There's
Yeah.
like no hard choices. It gets
Mm,
hard when you got 8.
And they want to avoid a situation where it's like, so if you do divide Space Marines, Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Death Watch, Black Templars, whatever it's been in the past, like there is a scenario where like during that time in the meta, like all of those individual types of Space Marine codexes could be too strong. And so you could like stack your team by having Blood Angel, Space Wolves,
Yeah,
Dark
and isn't it kind of
Angels,
weird,
and
Rob, if like all the Marine players are all playing like same Z units too? Like, well,
yeah, I suppose so.
that's not normally the case between other factions, right?
Mhm.
So it's like makes sense,
No,
and
I get it.
it's always been a modified rule set too. So
yeah, and then
SoCal has become 8-man teams. 8-man teams is slowly starting to replace the 5-man teams, which we always have advocated for on this podcast. We love the teams.
Yeah, and the other cool thing about teams is that the list meta is very different because typically a person on a team will want to fulfill a certain archetype or role for the team. So the types of armies that might be like crushing out individual events and you don't have an answer for aren't necessarily going to be the same way, excuse me, in a team event.
Hmm.
Dope. Rob, what else?
All sorts of stuff. All right, so that's SoCal Open. We've got some new releases this week that's worth definitely talking about. So the Mechanicum Battle Group box for Horus Heresy is coming out. It's very similar to the Horus Heresy Battle Group that we saw come out. The Solar Auxiliary Battle Group that came out, value-wise, it's going for $210. It's got probably close to $115 roughly in value in it, because some of those squads are going to be, $80 for the 20 dudes for the tech thralls. The Triaros is probably going to be like the $90. The two Castellax are probably going to be, we got the whole breakdown on the site if you want to check it out. Very interesting box set. You could, if you're into conversions and all sorts of stuff like that, definitely want to pick this box up just because these were really hard to work with in Forge World, and now that we've got them in plastic, it's going to be super dope. So I'm definitely looking kind of forward to that. And the Arch Magnos or Magos looking dude is very cool. You can definitely port him over to Adeptus Mechanicus if you really wanted to. Um, so that's interesting offering. Also, kind of out of nowhere this week, we've got the Cerastus Knight battle group as well. So $310, you get two Cerastus Knights, the Castigator and the Acheron, that sell for $210 each normally. So $420, you get them for $310, which is like a third off, which is
Yeah, wow.
incredible. If you don't have those, you'll just have to find a Lancer to have all three, I suppose. Um, it's great value for sure, but it's a really interesting offering because it's kind of like, oh, did they just put this out, to kind of bundle something together? Or are these kits not selling individually? Because are people not willing to pay for the same variant three times, right? So it's like kind of this big question mark, like what is really going on with this offer? Yes, it's great. Good, super good value. If you don't have these things, they all go together really awesome. I put them all together,
Or are they
magnetize them
locking
all.
them into a grouping so that you have to buy them?
Mhm.
But they're extending this like discount. So
It's a huge discount. I mean, if you don't have these and you were even remotely interested in
yeah.
these kits, it's
So it's
kind of a
honestly,
no
it's no
brainer.
matter what the motive here is, the compromise is equitable.
Yeah, I mean, this is the value proposition that I always talk about with Games Workshop. Like, give us more value, and I think people would be a lot happier with stuff like this. So it's a really interesting pivot. Speaking of another really interesting pivot, let's talk about the Blood Angels box set, Blood Angels Army box. So just to give you a little rundown, because I know everybody isn't up at 4 in the morning. Um, the video for it was leaked at 4 in the morning. The unlisted URL got out there. You can't just find these things, so it was obviously put somewhere by GW, and then of course it spread around in different places. And about 9 o'clock a.m. it came out. They did the whole article on Warhammer Community about it. So if you saw an early social media post from Spiky Bits that this was leaked, that's why, because it was basically leaked for 5 hours. Um, that aside, the Bloody Angels box set has some of the best value in it that we've seen in a very long time. So it's probably going to be about $230. The Deathwing Assault was $220, very very similar offering. This box set has $227 in value in it, and it's kind of hard to see the value in it
For how
because
much?
230 probably. So you basically like double up,
Damn,
and this is all multi-part kits.
that's been a while since
Um,
we had something like that.
very much so. So just like the Deathwing Assault, there's going to be two upgrade sets, and I call them upgrade sets because that's what GW calls them. It's two spurs and decal sheets in there, And these sprues are going to have all the close, the chainsaw bits, the flat panels to go on the upgrade armor bits to go on the Brutalis Dreadnought, a bunch of different heads, a bunch of different shoulder pads for the Terminators, because the Terminators will work. The Terminator Veteran Sergeant, blade, power sword, they got that in there too. The new style one that's a little bit bigger. So those are good kits too. If you're playing Blood Angels, you're probably going to want this, not just the Buster Primaris upgrade that's like $15. So this is really good value, and this is really good value if you don't count that $70 in those units. That takes it down to roughly 150 in value, which is still more than the value in the Mechanicum box. So even if you don't play Blood Angels, those upgrade sprues you could probably trade off to somebody. You could probably trade off the 2 characters, which are probably going to give for about $45 each, which we're going to talk about a little later. There's still really good value in here just for normal
You could
Marine
just buy it for the
players.
Marines and still get value.
Yeah.
Wow. It's been a long time since we had value like this. Fuck.
So that's definitely really cool to see. So we went over the new releases, Gen Cons this weekend. We talked a little bit about the mystery boxes and stuff. I do want to talk about a little tinfoil hat before we go into the GW financials. So for the past 2 weeks, the Sunday teasers on Warhammer Community, they're like, hey, this is the new thing coming out. And they always have like that video where they talk about, all the stuff and why it's the latest and greatest. They haven't had those videos for the past 2 weeks. And furthermore, they actually canceled the preview at Gen Con. There's supposed to be a preview actually tomorrow night happening. Oh, wait. Yes, tomorrow night. No, Friday. Friday night at 8 p.m. I thought this was Thursday. Either way, that they canceled. So there's either this huge pivot happening with the way GW is handling previews, because you might remember last Monday we got Imperial Agents and Mr. Dumpy Pants. And then this Monday we got Blood Angels box set. No video announcer, no video presenter. Don't know where that guy Lewis is. We haven't seen him in a video in over 2 weeks. There isn't a preview this weekend. There wasn't a preview at Tacoma. There is no listing for a new video presenter on GW's site. So don't know what's happening there, but maybe there's a fundamental shift in how they're doing previews, and they're just going back to creating the content itself.
Instead of making content about content that's in the future as a form of content, it's just going back to like the content is the content.
That's a good way of looking at it, for sure. Not that anybody super cares about it, but that is a real thing that's happening. Or
But we've also independently speculated that there is a pivot going on just from the behavioral changes leading up to this moment, and now you have even more evidence to kind of reflect on that behavioral change to speculate further. So I'd say it's only a half tinfoil hat segment that you're going on. It's like, so I think a lot of your speculation is pretty well grounded. Like,
I mean, it could just be the dudes, take leave, he's on vacation, and maybe they pre-record a lot of the stuff, and maybe he's back now and they're forward, content loading for going forward. It's really hard to say, but it is a pattern, and it is noticeable.
it's a pattern. It's happened for 60 days now. Like, there's been patterns. So yeah. So let's talk about the annuals though. Like, tinfoil hat aside, is there any spicy information in there? Like, what was your title?
World
domination.
Global is en route to total global domination. That used to be their thing in the early 2000s, was their goal, and they actually put those ads in magazines.
Global domination is our goal.
Yeah, total global domination. You can probably still find some of the ads out there. I mean, the early days are hard to find stuff, but they are out there. So regardless of, and I'm not going to pull any punches here, their absolute goblin behavior as a company as a whole, and I want to preface that there's still a lot of talented folks at Games Workshop that are very passionate about what they do, and they put out a lot of good quality work. That really shouldn't be underscored, but as a whole, treating customers and retailers, I mean, it's consumer confidence. Like, are you happy with Games Workshop customer service, product quality, and value for your money? And I seriously just ask yourself that. And I seriously doubt any of us would be like, yes, I'm happy with that. I used to be happy with their customer service. Their customer service used to be
Second to none.
absolutely impeccable.
Yeah.
That's been 4 years since that happened. Game stores can't get enough stock. Still cannot get enough stock. And if they're getting it in, it's just not selling right now because it's just that season. So there's no reason to order stuff in right now.
So that's an interesting
Um,
preface to global domination. How they dominate the globe with bad sales and treating customers wrong, not tightening up their commitments to their boots on the ground retailers. Like, how's that even a, is you just making like a joke?
I mean, so when you look at their numbers are very good. Um, and it and when you see their numbers, so for me, I'm personally torn because I'm in the trenches talking to all these individuals, seeing the retail trends, seeing how retailers can't get stock, seeing the problems that retailers are having, seeing how customers, order these things, they don't get them in time, they can't get a refund, they can't get replacements for things that come damaged, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, we talked about it with Skaven Tide. Like, before Skaven Tide had even been previewed with a price or anything like that, they demanded numbers from retailers. After telling the retailers what they thought the optimum number of Skaven Tides were that they should order. So yeah, a lot of stores fell for that because they didn't know any better. And they probably got stuck with a bunch of Skaven Tides. And then they tied the Skaven Tides to how many out-of-date books you could send back that were on your shelf,
Oh
when they should
yeah, I
have just
forgot
taken
about
those
that shit.
books back. They should have just taken outdated product back like a normal retailer. Hey, it's outdated. It want because remember in 2017 when Games Workshop was like, "Hey, we're different now. You can trust us." There were like all those codexes you bought for then 7th edition. Hey, if you bought that in the last month, we're gonna refund you, dog. Remember they said that?
Hmm?
They haven't done shit like that since 2017.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are. So when you put all that into perspective, I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. This is literal observation. This is literal, like, any of you can ask your game store or just ask yourself, like, are you happy with this? And you look at these numbers, and I even looked at these numbers, and they're hugely up 10 to 20% over last year. I looked at these numbers just because I was curious. I was like, well, how much of this has actually gone up since January? Because remember, stores have just not been able to get anything since basically January, February. They started throttling them in October. Obviously, 10th edition came out.
So you were
These
looking for
numbers,
loopholes in their reporting too,
I was just
because
like, okay, well, how much was the last 6 months? How much business did they actually do in the last 6 months? I was like, it couldn't have been that much. It couldn't have been. They literally did as much business in the last 6 months as they did in the first 6 months, with 10th edition
so these are
included.
like just the best numbers ever.
It, on
Stable,
paper,
stable. It's stable,
it's,
repeatable, sustainable numbers.
I mean, it's very impressive.
And when
I
you
mean,
break
it's,
when you break it down, like, because they always break it down, where is miniature sales are up 20% and they're stable too.
I mean, everything is up that much. So, I mean, I don't want to go into like
No, yeah, I understand. You have an art. It's a
the
big
I don't want to
article,
go too
right?
far in the weeds here, but we can talk about the big stuff. So
Only two things.
licensing is,
Only yeah, two things: licensing and fucking miniatures compared to last year.
so there's a little bit of a misnomer because they don't break down, with their core revenue, they don't break out what all that is, like hobby and miniatures, and we know that the actual consumables like paint and things are probably half of their
Yeah, they kind of hide that number in another number.
right. But licensing revenue, when you start looking at it from last year, it's way up. It's like um, 6 million up from last year.
This looks
They've
good.
basically got $33 million in licensing revenue this year. And remember, supposedly they will not let you touch a license from them for less than $1 million. So you could probably say that they have like 33 solid licenses at the very least, uh, with different brands. And I'm sure, we can think of a bunch of those right off the bat, like Joy Toy and the whoever does the Total War game and stuff like that. But we don't have all that, broken down in here, unfortunately. Um, they talk about how many stores they've opened and closed. They're on a tear as far as like opening up stores right now. And in retrospect to closing stores, they're expanding into new markets. They're hiring for all sorts of Asian translations and management positions out there. So they're really poised to expand into the Asian market overall, which is really good. And this is all before we see any sort of growth from any sort of possible actual Amazon project that happens. The deadline obviously is the end of this year when they may actually sign a deal and start something. If they can come to terms on, the agreement on the actual, intellectual property and stuff like that, which is very exciting. Now, all this aside, um, they have their ups and downs on their stock, and obviously it's good to buy the stock when it's down. Um, and I think if you're looking to invest in Games Workshop, I mean, if you're comfortable investing on a different exchange than the US, that might be it might be very interesting exercise for you to get some investments over on the London exchange. But I mean, it from what I see and what I experience to reading these numbers, it just is night and day. And these numbers are impressive.
Hmm. It's like you said earlier, like, what the fuck do we know? Because they keep crushing it.
Um,
Like at this point.
it's and here's the thing. Like I showed you that spreadsheet. I
Mhm.
showed you the amount of money,
Yeah.
realistic terms in the last quarter. They potentially left $52 million in sales on the table in just one quarter alone. And if their core revenue was 525 million pounds, if they left in one quarter 10% of their revenue just chilling because they didn't have the capacity to go out and get it, if you multiply that times four and then look at their value, I mean, they have a lot of leg room.
Yeah. That's a good point. So I see your
It's
point on, like, I mean, based on what you're saying, based on what you know and how you're
mhm.
interpreting this data, it's just gonna go up. With all the other information we have, they're just gonna keep doing better for the rest of the year.
And I mean, if Amazon comes on board and
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
what you're
that's a
saying.
real thing,
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's just
they have all this room to tighten up. That's crazy. That's wild. All right. Well, did not expect you to say any of that.
pretty now would I go, opening a game store and getting an account, and think that I'm gonna, you know, make a bunch of money off of Games Workshop products? No, absolutely not. If you're gonna think about even opening a game store, you need a good balanced plan and a way to set yourself apart, or a big a big metro area that needs to be serviced.
It's crazy.
Um,
Yeah, I'm flabbergasted by that information.
I mean, as far as I can tell, these gains have to be coming from new accounts, like new people carrying the product. Because you got to ask yourself this: if game stores can't, if you literally have a market that can't get enough stuff, and you got the online that you constantly sell out of, where is the growth coming from?
Yeah.
So you're selling stuff, slow movers, and new introductory products to accounts that are new because that's the shit that's just sitting.
Yeah, they haven't actually that product isn't in people's hands yet. But
Right.
it's
So
count but it's
that's
counted as. But yeah, I mean that makes sense.
I mean that's the way I see it. And I'm not an expert, but that's the way I see it because I mean, yeah, everybody could just ask themselves like, you wanted this thing, were you able to find it? Just ask yourself that.
Oh, dude, I had to go in there, dude. I posted on the internet. I need Pariah's Nexus fucking mission cards on
Good
Facebook.
luck.
I went to bed, forgot about the post. Woke up in the morning. It's like the most popular post I have on my fucking Facebook page.
What did people say?
Uh, they were confused. A lot of people were like, "Good luck, uh, Godspeed," shit like that. But somebody did crack open their deck and send me, uh, like because it's the mission cards repeated, defender, attacker. So
Uh-huh.
they crack open their deck and they send me all the attacker ones.
Oh, I didn't even
So,
think about that. Everybody technically has two sets.
mm-hmm. So somebody shared with me. Shout out to that
Nice.
anonymous individual. So, but yeah, you can't even get the fucking material required to play the fucking game. It's preposterous, GW. How are your
I haven't
numbers
talked
going up?
about Titanicus yet, so let's talk about
You literally
Titanicus.
already talked about Titanicus.
Nope, that was different.
That's the same.
That was Horus Heresy.
Don't fuck with me. You were talking all about these Titans and these fucking
Rob,
deals.
you only get to talk about one shitty game per episode.
So the huge problem with Titanicus was in the beginning they tried to sell the command terminals separate, and they quickly realized that they couldn't keep up with producing these cardboard components. So they started including them in all the boxes. So it was a problem back in 2018 as well.
So they should just throw the fucking mission cards in every box.
Yeah, or just put the fucking card information in the ITC Battles app.
Or let us have it in the fucking
Yeah.
app. Like,
Jesus
I'm not-
fucking Christ.
Well, that's a precedent too. It's just like kicking somebody out for 3D printed miniatures.
no, we've talked about
It's
this.
a problem.
GW, half of GW's, and the thing is, I can't even talk anymore. They have no problems. Everything's fine.
I mean, yeah,
Literally,
that's basically it.
none of this matters. Like, I have no
None of
critique.
this
Like, they
matters.
just take all the win out of my fucking hater sales.
Oh,
Like,
and they put more money in their cash reserve. They have like 80 million pound cash reserve. 80 million pounds just sitting in their money bin.
GW, disregard all my negativity.
Liquid assets? Damn.
Liquid assets.
Bro, GW, disregarded
God
everything
damn.
negative I've ever said. I was wrong. You're killing it. Good job. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Killing it.
Literally slaying it. What else you got on news?
Yeah, no, I think that's.
Oh,
oh
Tacoma.
no, the Tacoma guy.
Yeah, so it's an ongoing news story. Last
Oh,
week
yeah.
we talked about Tacoma Open.
We can
Can I say fuck Marshall Peterson? Or
Thank
whatever
you.
his
I
name
was
is?
actually going to ask you his
yeah,
name.
you're within your rights to.
Yeah, so Marshall
An
Pe-
opinion. Fuck that dude.
Yeah, so
Like-
your opinion is fuck that dude, Marshall Peterson. I just want to catch everyone up real quick. So if you guys are just tuning in, maybe you haven't heard last week's episode, and you're like, who the fuck are we talking about? Tacoma Open happened. It was one of the biggest singles events in the history of the game. Over 400 people playing. This is a GW event for a golden ticket. Fucking wild event. And we talked deeply on a controversy, which was this dude got caught cheating on camera for realsies. This is not this isn't speculation. This isn't alleged. It's happened. And we talked about how the TOs need to step up. We've had that as a reoccurring theme. Every time there's a scandal, and I do want to, was we talked about this earlier, there have been TOs who have stepped up in past scenarios. Like there have been like annual bans on certain players. There have been all sorts of things. So not every TO is guilty of this problem. But this is one of those situations we went deep on it. And then we said, hey, it's really fucked up that this guy's literally walking around with a golden ticket and that the TOs couldn't step up. We talked about GW's policies. We speculated on that. All this stuff, right? This guy got a golden ticket and he fucking literally cheated his ass off to get it. That's where we're at. What happened since that last conversation, Rob?
So apparently a lot of people reached out to him and encouraged him to resolve the situation, which he did through a very long post on Reddit
How
that
long?
was promptly, huh?
How long?
I'll just see.
I don't,
How long? I really want to know how
I
long it
don't
was
know, like
posted.
It's like
5,000
nine
words or something.
nine paragraphs.
9 paragraphs.
Basically, like he was like, "This is what happened." He did say he was sorry at the end, but sorta.
Read. I want you to read. Can you quote his apology?
He says, "Anyway, sorry, I'll do better."
Anyway,
However,
sorry.
let's put a pin in that. Um, he never admitted to cheating. What he admitted to
Yeah, that's true.
was sloppy play. And so once again, so for those of you who don't remember, um, it was brought up that there was controversy at Tacoma Open on the Meta Monday post. And then Marshall decided it would be a great idea to write a manifesto
9
on a
paragraphs.
Reddit subthread and defending himself, basically saying, I didn't do
yeah.
anything wrong, yada yada. And then people brought receipts, clapped him back with the receipts, right? Which he was silent on, right? And then all this news broke, talked about it ad nauseum, right? And then this post comes out where basically he says that he has dropped himself from Tacoma Open. He's given his golden ticket to the runner up. But it's kind of one of those like non-apologies, right? Like we've seen a number of public people get caught for some stuff, and instead of saying like I did something bad, sorry I did something bad, they say something like I'm sorry if my actions offended you, right? So they're not admitting
No,
culpability for what they did. They're saying sorry, but they're not actually apologizing, right?
it's
And
not. You don't
so
have a contrite spirit.
um again, very quickly, people clapped back to this, basically saying like you can't be where you are and say that you are playing sloppy, right? Like you can't keep constantly winning tournaments
Hmm.
with quote unquote sloppy play. And oh, also noticeably in every instance of your sloppy play, it's never against you, it's always in your favor, right? So it's like how many instances of sloppy play in your favor constitute, being a cheater, right? And then
Mhm.
also saying that you didn't cheat when there's like video evidence of somebody asking you a question about a rule, and then you purposefully omitting sentences from that rule
That's pretty fucked
so
up.
that you could cheat. Like, yeah, like again, fuck this guy. Like until he comes out and says like I cheated and I'm fucking sorry for being a cheater. Like, fuck this guy.
So, I definitely tend to agree with you as far as that goes. Obviously, this guy went out of his way. He doesn't seem like he's really sorry. He was just kind of pigeonholed into this to apologizing, which it isn't really, in my opinion, an apology. Uh, first of all, the internet's gonna do internet things regardless of what you say or what you do. I've been accused of pretty much everything from being Adolf Hitler to Andrew Tate at this point on the internet
Oh
in
yeah, I forgot
regards to
about the
toy
Andrew Tate.
soldiers.
Well,
Yeah,
No,
that's
see,
just jealousy.
no, my
Hate is
favorite, my
good in the
favorite part
hands.
about it
sure,
is Rob has been literally called your Spanky Bits is literally Hitler. That has happened. People have even gone as
true.
far as to mail it to his PO box like Nazi paraphernalia.
That is true.
So calling him a fascist, people have done that. You're a fascist. But then another group of people calling him a beta bitch cuck. And then now he is Andrew Tate of 40K. So you have a highly confusing set of principles that are meshing around in this public zeitgeist about Rob. I find it the most intriguing.
Rob's the great unifier, dude.
But
I
also,
kind of am.
but side talk, real talk. All joking aside, Rob also has an inbox filled with death threats on occasion. So
That is also true.
that is also true, right? So that like we may circle back to that statement in a bit, depending on how this conversation goes. So catch us up. So this guy Marshall Fuckface, um, he puts out a manifesto. So the first problem I have with this is that still he is the one saying I didn't win Tacoma and I will give my golden ticket to the runner up. Right?
Yeah.
He's the one who was taking that initiative.
He's recusing himself after
Not
the fact.
Right.
now, since we're using
Dude.
names, so he's the one who made that move, not Mike Brandt, the global event coordinator of Games Workshop.
Yes. That's
Okay.
a
Oh, I'm
point I
sure.
wanted to get to.
So
Is that
first things
regardless
first.
that the situation worked out for the best, right? Like the person who should have been rewarded for winning the tournament and getting their golden ticket, like they got their rewards. Great for that guy. I hope he really enjoys going to Worlds. Aside from that, the fact that there has been no public statement, that no official punishment came down, and all of this even happened in the first place is still on Games Workshop.
So Marshall did Brandt's job for him, took his own initiative, and though it was a not real apology, and though he took no accountability for his crimes, all he did was, the same thing that a lot of people who get caught doing bad things do, which is deny, make counter accusations, right? Deny, counter accusations.
Solid
Right.
strategy.
So he acknowledges he's been caught. He admits to doing those things, but distorts the motive of those actions. So he takes no accountability, denies that it was actually a cheat without ever bringing it up that way, and make sure that you understand the judges approved all this, so it's on them, while making not a real apology. Like, I'm sorry that I didn't realize, with all due respect, that you had your balls removed through experimental surgery. Like, he does a total fake nonsense. I got it. But ultimately, the guy is now going. The guy who should be going to the premier event is going, right?
Right.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So these are current facts.
Well,
now, what happened to that post on Reddit though? That 9-paragraph post?
It's still there.
Still there.
Well, immediately locked down.
The comments were locked down. I mean, we shouldn't have to say this, but just because this happened does not give people the free reign to witch hunt, to like delve into somebody's personal life, to send erroneous threats and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, if you're listening to this, you dislike this guy, like, cool. We also dislike this guy and think that he deserves to be punished for his actions by being punished, not being allowed to compete in 40K. So we do not condone anything beyond that. Do not take it upon yourself to do anything else. If you are a fan, don't do that. If you think that doing that makes you in our good graces, you're wrong. Like, do not witch hunt, do not send erroneous threats. Like, know that this guy's got a bad rep, and expound your opinions to each other about it, but don't witch hunt.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, really, it comes down to one of the only things we can all control in life is how we react to things. And I think, when you start looking at this, like, yeah, you could say, oh, this is why I don't play in tournaments. But is it the exact reason why you don't play in tournaments? Maybe, maybe not. It's whatever. But at the end of the day, GW has an uphill battle now to, I'm sure there was some behind the scenes, silver tonguing, like as such Brandt does and is very good at, to get this to come to fruition, because, you can't be seen to overtly do it. But I feel like if people lose confidence in the 3 to 4 GW events every year, then that's a big moneymaker for them. Those stores there, the selling the stuff at that event is a big moneymaker. And it is when they're posting up Facebook posts about, hey, our store's open, you can come in, you don't need a ticket, you can come in here and buy stuff. So I think, when you start looking at it from all sides, yes, he should have handled it differently. Maybe GW should have handled it differently. But if you have a ticket to any of these events, still go, still do the thing. If you haven't been to a GW US Open, still worth going to. I mean, any event's worth going to if that's what you enjoy and that's your passion. Don't let somebody else poo-poo all over it. But at the end of the day, you got to kind of still stick up for what you think is right too. And if you don't agree with any of this, make your voice heard, vote with your hobby dollars, do what is comfortable to you, because that's really all any of us kind of have left. And this event, this dude did not put out a good, sincere apology. And I feel like, the fact that he can just go and play in any event now, when we've had people on the show in the past that did receive
Well,
bans.
to your point, Rob, the Salt Lake Open did tell him not to show up.
Well, that's good. I
So I
mean, I
mean,
think,
like that was kind of one of the things that our group was kind of worried about, because like he's kind of one of those people that you know there's like what's I'm trying to find the right word. So like the guy in the gaming group that is like a known bad seed, but won't pull
yeah.
that shit with his local homies.
Hmm.
Kind of like that situation. So his reputation where he lived was not the same as it was elsewhere. But thankfully, because of this, like that has been rectified. He's not showing up to Salt Lake Open.
Yeah, so that's a
So I mean,
so.
like, yeah, dude, I gotta give a shout out to Mario for like saying, no,
Yeah,
thank you.
we need more TOs like that. So that's the conclusion
Yep.
in where we're at in this evolving story, right? The cheat happened. The fake internet apology segment of the apology tour has
Well,
begun.
more than one cheat,
Uh,
multiple. But
well,
yeah.
I'm saying, yeah. So the cheater was caught winning the event. The person running the event is crickets. The person who got caught issued a half-hearted apology. This is an old story. This has happened before. We'll keep you guys updated on like what's the next segment. Like what's gonna happen next. I'd like to see a formal statement out of the GW camp on this, like out of the event coordinators camp on this. Like if Utah, this guy's hometown, is saying, you can't come until further notice. Like what's GW's response gonna be? None.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
unacceptable.
I really do think that they kind of bungled the PR side of this. I mean, like, obviously, we can all agree they made the wrong decision in the moment, um, which I think warrants some type of public statement uh, about their tournaments and from the people who are organizing these tournaments, like who is in control of that decision. And I mean, like, I could be wrong on this, but I do believe there is an excerpt in the like exposition part of the core rulebook that says that like that type of behavior has no place in our game. Like we value good
True.
sportsmanship. So it's like that's your core values from the makers of this game. And yet we have this like tournament that is obviously shooting for high prestige, the highest prestige possible, right? And we're all competing for a golden ticket to go to Worlds, which is supposedly the highest prestige, singles tournament to get the world champ thing. And yet this is how the tournament organization staff handles a situation like this. Like, will
Hmm.
we get that? I don't know. Like, knowing Brant, probably not. But I think it would make a lot of people, you know, get some confidence in the GW Opens back if they came out and said like, this is not going to happen again. I mean, you don't have to admit fault, right? Because companies definitely don't ever want to admit fault. So like, don't admit fault. Cool. You're never going to do that anyways. But just say it's never going to happen again. And I think we can all like take that as a you know consolation prize.
Yeah. Well said. Let's take a commercial break here from our sponsors and then come back and talk about these new models. And we're back. So, mirroring last week's episode, kind of point for point, now we're back to discussing new model releases. Last week's controversy was the diaper power armor guy. We broke down why
I can't believe I didn't think of Captain Underpants in the
Captain
moment.
Underpants.
Captain Underpants.
That's a good one.
I wish I could go back in
That
time and
is a
slap that
good
one out
one.
there, but yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that would be a good name. So
Hmm.
we talked about, we had a real ass conversation about like like why it was a miss. And this is coming from a company that makes solid fucking models on the rake. You know what I'm saying? So two new models coming into Blood Angel army box. Famous heroes of fucking Blood. We got Lamartis and Astaroth. These are two
Oh
legends,
yeah.
right? And so let's do a breakdown of Lamartis first. Do you have him
Yeah, let me pull it up.
Where you can look at his ass.
Yeah, dude. Dope model. You mean I love my
Yeah.
chaplains. Super sick. I mean, he's got the the kind of like the Wolverine pose where
Hmm.
he's like, yo, come at me like we're about to do this. He's got his gold plated blicky over here. Pretty cool.
I will say right at the gate, the photograph of him in his Wolverine pose, has got a severe case of like foreshortening occurring,
A little bit.
where it's making his legs and torsos look misproportioned. Uh, but we know what kind of army he's in, and that's not the case. It's because he's leaning forward toward the camera.
Yeah.
It's why it looks that way. So you have to get, you can see it from the top angles in the photos that they dropped, that how heavily far he's leaning, and he's taking a step forward. So the posing, that the picture's unfortunate there, but ultimately you're seeing a very static, heroic ass ballers pose, which is GW's best fucking composition. You know what I mean? They slay at that. We're seeing this man's full chaplain regalia on display, Wyatt. His
It's
bones.
just I like the added detail of he's got these like iron bands that are like riveted and hinged onto his armor, so like you can't take his armor off. Like
Yeah.
he's locked in there.
Yeah, this man has got a sick I mean, everything about this dude slaps. He's jumping around the battlefield, slapping. The detail is on point, sharp, crisp edges, three-dimensional regalia, plumbers taped on it is why I was talking about. I mean, it's not even like the
With the
same.
jump pack.
Yeah, it's not even like the same company made this model, right? Like how?
As Captain Underpants?
Yeah, like what the
I
hell,
mean,
man?
stylistically and detail wise, like yeah, it's definitely the same company.
Fair point.
But yeah, I would say that in both of their promotional images, you are correct. Their photograph was probably not the best to fully showcase the model. But yeah, like obviously there was some proportion problems with Codiez.
Yep. And as One Plus Days pointed out in chat, he has grenades. So my man can use the grenade strat, hopefully.
Nice.
So I mean, it's a classic banger. Sick looking HQ coming at you, ready to slash. He's not doing anything fancy. He's not, moving his arms around. He's just staring down the dude he's about to jump over to and murder. 10 out of 10, GW. Like, that one is wild. Now, what do you think, Rob? How do you feel about the Lamartis? Rob,
Rob is muted.
classic mute.
Rob is still muted.
Rob is classically muted here.
Doesn't know what to do with his hands.
Yep, he forgot how
I
to.
lost
There we
my
go.
I lost my box here. I didn't know where my mute button was.
If you guys, anyone listening at home doesn't know, Rob has like 400 browser tabs open.
Oh my gosh, it's one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true.
Shame.
So how do you feel about Lamartis versus?
Sometimes I have so many tabs open that they disappear and I have to close tabs to see them all.
That gives me anxiety, Rob.
That's what everybody says when
Please
I
stop.
screen share with them. They're like, your browser gives me anxiety. And I was like, I need them all.
Jeez.
I need them all. All of them. I need them.
I really hope you use Chrome.
Yeah.
So there's a setting in Chrome that you
Uh-huh.
should probably click that means that when you're not actively viewing those tabs, they're not loaded.
Oh, I
Otherwise,
have
your
that
compute. Okay, cool. Jeez, I can only think about what was happening to your CPU.
Oh, it screams.
It screams of
It's
the
so
damned.
mad. I have more power on this computer than like we sent to the moon, and like I use it all for like browsing the internet.
browser tabs?
Didn't the computer we sent people to the moon only have like 8 kilobytes of RAM?
Oh yeah, it was stupid low.
Yeah. So it's rather than sending people to the moon, he's just saving browser tabs. So Rob, you like Lamartis?
I think it's pretty cool. I like the throwback with this, the armor, the bands and stuff, because that actually was some of the early Death Company models were like that back in the day. Um, it's very cool. Obviously he's got a little um, rock and everything he's standing on there, and tactical rock or tactical steps. And they're kind of getting rid of flying stands. Like, we haven't seen a flying stand on a model,
Good.
and even
The guy
Koteas,
doesn't need to be flying. He's just
nah,
it's a jump
Be
pack.
jumping.
It's a
Yeah,
jump
dude.
pack, dude. Like he's jumping to a place. Doesn't need to be caught mid jump. That's always a mistake.
he's like the Hulk. He
Yeah.
jumps
I like
short jumps.
someone commented in chat, Mad Larkin says, I'm personally not a fan of the Lamartis ball gag, and he spelled it ball like that.
BAAL.
And I looked at it, I'm like, sure enough, he's got a sick ball gag. I like it even more.
Yeah.
That's
It kind of looks like that
extremely Blood Angels.
with the death mask.
Yeah, it's just because like the normal armor from a helmet is taken off, but you still have like the under
The respirator.
the
Yeah.
respirator underneath that's being covered up. I don't really see that because like in my mind it's like, it's just like a tube with tubes running out of it, like a Navy SEAL rebreather kind of thing. But I guess some people see a ball and they're projecting maybe.
No, Blood Angels are a bunch of beautiful men with dark secrets. That's their whole lore.
Fair enough.
That's their entire
Totally
thing.
not vampires.
Like, so now Astaroth the Grim. I had to like look at this guy a couple times because
Forgot he existed, to be honest.
I've always loved this guy. And my first Mephiston model I converted was not my first Mephiston model, but the first one I converted was just off of this guy because he slaps so hard. So the new model, it just is like a redux of the old model, bigger and better and with new armor.
Yeah, it's just tight.
That's what you guys should have done with Cotias. Like, just give us the classic beatdown pose and make it bigger and better. My man is coming at you with deep musculature recesses too. Like, I love that because that's always been a problem. Is that when they do the Blood Angels like muscle artifice, sometimes it's a little too shallow to actually paint well, unless you're coming in with gangster painting technique. And so him being a little blown up, a little bigger, deeper grooves, it's going to be a very much more paintable model for a lot of the painters.
You can definitely do it with the new Mephiston too.
Yep. Yeah. Well, no, he's actually a little hard. The new Mephiston is like, I painted one recently. Remember, he's like the beginning of the new Primaris wave, so his proportions are actually kind of smaller than you'd expect. He's a little dainty for a Primaris thug, and I actually found myself being slightly irritated by the musculature. I'm like, you could do better than this. But Astaroth is not dainty. That man is jacked. The Professor Swolstein over here. Like,
It's looking fresh.
Man is jacked and easy. He's gonna be easy to paint. You can even see this paint job that they're sporting here is almost just washed and dry brushed.
Remind me, Kenny, so I never owned the original Astaroth model. Did he always wear like an armored face mask, or was he just like barefaced on the
I
original?
I always assumed it was just a face.
Yeah, I think it's just a face.
Yeah.
Because I really do like this model. The one thing that I don't like is the kind of like the death mask that he's got on.
I don't think he's wearing a mask.
He is.
Yeah, it's
You can
totally
see
it's like a Sanguinary Guard's face. It's like
and you can see the tubes going into the side, like the technology. So it's like an armored face mask, rebreather kind of thing he's got going on.
He's got some hair.
Because like if I'm just like I have this post open and I'm scrolling down to like the upgrade sprue and I see some of like the snarling vampire faces of the Death Company heads. I'm like, these look fucking sick. That's what I want on Astrath, but he's got this lame.
Yeah, so he
mask.
had a real human face to my like the way I painted it at least, but yeah, they gave him like the Sanguinary Guard death mask. For some, maybe there's a lore explanation for that. I don't know. But you know, and somebody Disflux mentioned in chat is that he said you could paint it gold though, right? And I'm like, actually, that's a good point. When it comes to GW paintability, I don't see. I see most painters painting that face mask gold, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like and washing it just like
a
the rest of the
personal
bottle. Yeah.
It's just it's like the one feature I find kind of boring. Like I would rather see the like snarling visage of this guy rather than the like kind of plain death mask.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean, like
definitely not wearing a death mask in the.
that's easy enough. Like you can just do a head swap and sculpt some hair. Like
Yeah, and
whatever.
this being a plastic kit, not a shitty old resin kit, this is gonna be so paintable. And his wings are huge. I love how big and crisp his wings are. And he's ultimately there's not honestly nothing really groundbreaking going on with the Astaroth. Just good, clean lines, easy
Mm-hmm.
paintability. Anyone can collect this model and paint them to a standard just using basic GW products. Even it's that
Yeah.
they'd be happy to put on the table.
I was actually gonna say I'm surprised at the painting techniques on display here. Because they're a little crunchier
It's
than what we're used to for display models.
Mhm.
Like I just,
Yeah,
I feel like they could do a lot better.
yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like all they did on this Astaroth in this image is like they got him. They got a solid base of red going down, lightly dry brushed his armor because that texture is super easy to dry brush, and little bit of wash in there. The wings are
Mm-hmm.
black, but they did some nice edge highlighting. But you could with a soft round dry brush almost perfectly emulate that. Like
Yep.
it is very like studio paint, like for someone to learn how to paint. Like I love that they're showing that, so people because that's a big problem with a lot of companies who make a lot of great models is they make the models too hard to paint, so no one paints them. So when you go on Instagram, all you see is prime models, you know. And I can't wait to
That's a
see a
problem.
thousand Instagram posts of painted Asteroths for inspiration. Like I love
For
that.
sure. Dude.
Yeah. I
GW's
think
engineered paintability is second to none.
this so this looks very similar to the wings. So the old wings, his old wings were basically the sanguinary guards. So if they do have some sanguinary guard
Mm-hmm.
in the pipeline, these wings are probably going to be very similar to the Primaris ones
Oh yeah,
that are
he
rumored.
just had like a no he had real ass wings, didn't he?
Nah, he had
Just
basically
he
sanguinary
just had the
guard
secondary
wings.
guard backpack. Damn.
No, he had the wings. Let me find it again.
Yeah, because these are obviously like a metal artifice attached to his jump pack.
Oh yeah, no, he had baller wings before. Why, Rob? These aren't secondary guard had like little cherub wings compared to this. Oh, maybe not.
No.
Holy shit, you might be
Uh-uh.
right.
I'm gonna pull it up right now.
God, it's so funny because when you see a model and you're like, isn't that the same model? Like, no, it's not the same model. Holy shit. Yeah, you're right, Rob. The old Astaroth is trash. The,
I mean, he was good for the time. He even didn't have a flying stand. He had the thing that held him up was those ribbons.
yeah, this guy sucked. You know, this guy sucked. It's funny because I'm looking at this paint job of one, Wyatt. It's a really good paint job on the internet. I'm gonna throw it up on stream for anyone watching. And it's almost like they were flirting with the idea that he was wearing a mask.
Hmm.
Like this
Mm-hmm.
really sick ass OG Astaroth. You see, the old one, very small, very dainty proportions, held up by fucking ribbons, which is a nightmare, trust me. But his like he's got the gray pallid flesh and his eyes aren't even like open. So it's kind of interesting this painter's interpretation kind of is what the new Astaroth is.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. And you know what? I'm actually looking close at this picture, Wyatt, and it almost looks like there is a fucking hose connector attached to the side of Astaroth's face.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it too.
There's little vent
Yeah,
things, but
like so maybe it was always a mask, and it just was hard to tell it
Uh,
was a mask.
I mean, I think it's also maybe going back to that old style of 40K art where people just had like plugs and tubes in their flesh and
Yeah,
stuff for no reason.
could
yeah,
be.
that's wild. So it's funny going back and looking at the old Astaroth. I mean, he was awesome for the time, but this new one, it's just the old one, but bigger and better. That's what we want, GW.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Classics never die.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Slaps.
I hope his rules are cool.
Yeah, me too. He's always
Like I
been.
said, like I legit forgot that Astaroth existed until this new model came out because it's like I don't think in the I don't think I've seen somebody put him on the table since like 5th edition, maybe.
Dude, I love him too because he hates Mephiston. And like he was like all about Mephiston crossing the Rubicon and becoming a premise because he was like, there's a chance he's not gonna make it, he's gonna go crazy. I'll stand by, dude. I got my axe right here. Fuck this guy. Like, they hate each other. I played a sick game one time at a team event. I had Mephiston and he had Astaroth, and they ended up having a fight in the corner over some secondary. And I ended up getting slapped and with one wound left, having the GTFO out with the fucking wings of Sanguinius. And screaming like, you know, like this is the last time you'll hear from me. Fucking bro. I love Blood Angels so much. I'm so stoked on these models. It's like my Imperial army has always been I've always been fascinated with the Blood Angels. So it sucks that I'm not done with my Chaos project and now they're flirting with fucking Blood Angels nonsense.
Hey, Passer, I don't tell you, dude.
They're both the same.
Right? I mean, Blood Angels are more chaos than 3 out of 4 chaos powers. That's always like they got literally librarian dreadnoughts. Zinx doesn't even have those. You want to talk about like being like Emperor's children, bro? Like their whole thing is like genetic alteration and fucking cosmetic surgery to be more handsome and more beautiful than any other man. Like that's their whole thing. And then when you talk about like sating blood, bro, I've never seen a Core Berserker eat someone. That's too far for a Core Berserker. They just cut the head off and like collect the skulls, dude. Like fucking Blood Angels are hardcore, dude. So they scratch my itches. They're just that they got no Nurgle qualities. So play Death Guard and play Blood Angels. That's all your chaos powers. 2 armies.
Yep.
Renegade, no one cares about your obscure lore nonsense.
Yeah, you nerd.
I can't play it in 40k. It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. You don't know anything about 40k. You play Street Fighter.
Oh,
No.
that's messed up.
All right. Well, any final comments on these baller models?
Look dope. Can't wait to see if stores actually get some.
Oh, sadness. Cody was asking me if I want if I would paint an Astaroth for him, and I was like, I mean, if you get the model, let me know, dude. Like,
Yeah. Step 1, get the model.
Yeah, dude.
At this point.
Fuck. All right. Well, good one, guys. Let me kick it out over to Wyatt. You want to take us out of here?
Rob?
So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.